Salutations from space and aloha from Earth, friends. It is 11:33 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesday, miércoles, and therefore time for Storytelling Hour with your host and celestial navigator, Gemini Brett, here on this day of a Cancer new moon. I woke up early this morning, no alarm set, and last night it was early to bed, but I was up at about 3:33 a.m., which is right at the time here where I reside on the west coast of the United States. It's right at the time when the moon and sun aligned from Earth's point of view for this Cancer new moon. And I have not yet worked today, which is kind of rare on a Wednesday to honor my beloved Scorpiana's needs. I had to reschedule a session this morning, but that meant that I've been in family mode. Took the boy to a summer camp day and then been on a walk with my baby girl and my pup. And in a time of celebrating that family connection and trying to be in a space of offering nurturing and receiving nurturing and offering safety, because it's such an important truth of the needs we are reminded of at Cancer new moon time. And this need is one that is greatly challenged when we turn on the news or look at the ways of the world or walk by folks who do not have a home. So it reminds me of being in a place of gratitude and of consideration of how I can be a better community member, a family member, father, partner, and how we can try to do the right thing. And I've really been contemplating, what is that? And in a sense also, how should I teach? Not only how can I make decisions that I know to be right and know not to be wrong, even though I might not know, but what to say, what not to say, what not to say, because some things must be said, but how do we say them? Based upon who are we saying them to? Which, interestingly, in our day and age, does not necessarily coincide with the question of what to say based upon who is listening. Anyway, a Cancer new moon, and so I also called my mom, left a message, and the baby had a thing to say. Called my dad, called some of my old brothers from my band. That was my family on the road when I was learning how to not grow up for some time and earlier in life. And last night, those of you in Constellations and the School of Astrology's Star Fam community know I've decided to make this a short storytelling hour. In fact, hold please. Set timer for 18 minutes. 18
minutes starting.
Thank you. So we could also take this conversation to a more private, safe space to speak about some of the things.
I'm not sure.
who's listening to speak about some of the things that might challenge our feelings of safety, of trust, or might invite or prevent our ability to go into our tenderness and the true Cancer ways, which I like to call the science of the water, meaning we water things to help them grow. Get into that space where we can offer and allow nurturing. So the main thing I would say for any Cancer new moon is try a little tenderness. And for this one, perhaps we have a greater expanded opportunity, or perhaps a greater expanded emphasis, or a greater expanded acceleration, or a greater expanded need for this, because this Cancer new moon of 2025 is so significantly configured to Jupiter, who recently found his gas giant way to Earth's northern lean, the place, at least on the sun's path, that lives above Earth's Tropic of Cancer. Jupiter ingressing tropical Cancer not long ago, after about a year in the Gemini winds. Jupiter has come, we wouldn't say home necessarily, for the two homes of Jupiter according to the tradition are the Sagittarian fire and the Pisces waters, but Cancer, the home of the moon, said to be a place where Jupiter is an honored guest or exalted. And it's interesting thing to consider that a new moon in less eclipse, and this is the furthest thing from it, is a no moon, something we can't see with our eyes. And this is certainly also true at Jupiter Cazimi time, which means Jupiter in the heart of it. So in the heart of what? In the sun. And really the alignment today is Earth, Moon, Sun, Jupiter. And on the square, Saturn, to make things perhaps challenging, or at least remind us that this will require some work. Saturn in Aries perhaps reminding us that this might require some work and some cleanup on aisle self, emphasizing the tension that exists between Aries, a sign that we often associate with selfness, not selfish. That's the low road, selfness, which is actually a high road. We need our own strength to be able to support, protect, or maybe even, let's say, nurture those that we call fam or clan. And Neptune, of course, there where Saturn now rings his way slowly through the zodiac, also in these early degrees of Aries, this east point, this global ascendant, this place where the path of the year crosses the plane of the day, the ecliptic and the equator, east of the center of the earth. And so we feel this very strong square between Jupiter and Saturn, between Jupiter and Neptune, something I've been talking about the last couple of weeks, emphasized at solstice time when the sun ingressed tropical Cancer and shined directly above the Tropic of Cancer, the sun's northern bounds. It will stop solstice and turn around Tropicos for a 6-month journey south, right? But when the sun came in, it illuminated or highlighted or strengthened this Cancer Jupiter square Aries Saturn, this Cancer Jupiter square Aries Neptune, and now the moon comes in to join the fray. And this new moon, which in so many regards will plant a seed for the moonth to come, is emphasizing the tension of this Cancer Aries square, this Cancer Jupiter square Aries Saturn Neptune, right? Now, Saturn and Neptune will not quite conjoin in Aries in this year of 2025. Saturn will hit the brakes and station retrograde even before Neptune does and jump back across the cusp for some unfinished business in Pisces. I'm very interested in October this year. Some have called October 24th the most important day of the calendar year. You'll hear it in the Tolkien, of course. I'm just kidding. That's my birthday. But this year, it's quite intriguing because we have this really strong, grand water trine in that northern hemisphere autumnal time or southern hemisphere springtime. Let's just say Scorpio time, where Jupiter, now in the later degrees of Cancer, will send a trine over to Saturn and Neptune back in Pisces for some unfinished business. And at the grand trine place called Scorpio, we will find Scorpio Mars. Scorpio Mercury will join. It's an amazing chart, and that's some months from now, if we can even make it. Sorry to go into fear space, but to be authentic, it's a razor's edge that I've been dancing on for many years or decades, but also specifically at this time where terrifying things are happening in the world out there. I think many of us are feeling them close to home, in community, right at home. So many other people are being taken away from their homes or the place they call this, etc., etc. Many homes are being bombed. It's challenging times. Well, one thing that is helpful about astrology, I think many of us would agree, although it's kind of interesting to ask why, is that when things are particularly challenging, we can look at our own life cycle initiations as signified by strong astronomical alignments, like a transit, for example. So, for those of us who have planets in the early degrees of fixed signs, we've been seeing strong stimulations from Pluto, and I've got one of those. My sun is in the first degree of Scorpio. For those of us with planets or points in the first degree of the cardinal signs, we're now feeling personal activations through this global happening of the Jupiter square Saturn, Jupiter square Saturn, Neptune, Cancer new moon conjunct Jupiter square Aries Saturn, Neptune, right? And for me, that planet is Mars, who, when I was born, was visiting 1.5 degrees tropical Cancer. So kind of right in the mix of all of this. And my Cancer Mars is out of bounds, and I don't want to make this about me, but I do want to make this about us. So in just 10 minutes time or so, let's call it 12, because astrology, the ancient 12-step program, I will invite you over to a different place where we won't be live online and it won't be recorded or broadcast, where we can maybe share some of how we're experiencing the madness of the now and finding our own ways to stay sane. And it's helpful to have this great tool, this sacred science, this high art of astrology that sometimes can help us kind of get outside to take a look from above so we can go deeper in, right? And help guide us in the kind of where to focus the inner work, because fix yourself to fix the world. Oh, wait, that's a fixed sign trip. Cardinal yourself to cardinal the world? No, that won't work. Maybe I should share that the cardinal signs were once called the movable signs, and we can make moves. In fact, I would say that is why spirit, when reflecting upon itself, birthed a soul an entire but unique reflection of the one only thing that ever was, is, and will be, that soul born through the adaptation or reflection of spirit drinks the forgetting juice and then incarnates into self, into matter, into a place with the appearance of time and space, which allows us to make moves, to change, to grow. You grow through what you go through, and as you grow, soul grows, spirit grows. And for me, and granted, I can never prove this to be true, and maybe I'll change my heart mind in a short amount of time, but I feel like this is the grand design and the purpose of incarnation. Now, there are times in the arc of a planet, of a species, of a culture, of a nation, of a clan, of a family, of a self, where the opportunities for growth are accelerated and also are of greater imperative. We have incarnated into one of those times. So what I can share about this right now, pictures tell 1,000 words. So let me set something up for you to see. It's just going to take me a second, friends, to journey. Well, why not do this together? Through time and space, I'm going to take us back to 3:33 a.m. just because it sounds cooler than 3:30. Excuse me, 3:31. We'll just go to 3:33. But this is how the new moon aligned beneath the ground. Here where I reside in Berkeley, California, where the chart locally would have looked something more like this. And Taurus on the rise with Uranus there and Pluto at the midheaven. So perhaps I'm living in a particular place where some of this need for change could be more felt even in this moment's time. Perhaps not. I like to see that Moon met Sun and Jupiter in the third whole sign of this Taurus rising chart, and Mercury there in the third locally too. But this isn't just about me or this place where I reside. Let's speak more globally. And one way we could do that is by taking the ground out beneath our feet and just honoring the directional zodiac, where we point the point that is due east of the center of Earth, this, in that sense, global ascendant, 0 tropical Aries here. And again, just emphasizing the strength of this square. And by the way, always looking at the stories of tension and release for me. So when I see this Cancer new moon with Jupiter squaring Saturn and Neptune, we see tension there. But there's also a sextile over to Mars in Virgo. So how can Mars help? Interesting question to ask that. Mars, however, in conjunct the Aries crew. Maybe we'll see some parallels that connect them, and we do not. Anyway, we also see now from that Aries crew a sextile to Pluto. So in this story of tension between the Cancer planets and the Aries planets in square, they each have allies they can call upon. But on one side, it's Mars, and on the other side, it's Pluto. And how much do we want those to be the beings that assist? Well, 100%, because that's how it is. All right. I'll just also call out that Mercury sextile Uranus. And this is true as we measure from the center of the Earth the place that we all share. All right, well, I'm going to go to an astrocartography map so I can just see where on Earth this Cancer new moon was up at the midheaven. I'd go where it was overhead here in Libya, but I'd rather actually, just the way that I want to show this to you, look from some place where they're a little bit lower in the sky. So let's go to Athens, Greece, which beautifully is pretty much right on this line. I just want to show you while we're looking at this astro map that you can see that while the moon and sun are completely conjunct, right, the chart reveals that truth. That's a statement of longitude, that's zodiac degree, but not of latitude, right? And so the moon here is actually very far out of bounds, which just technically means either south of the Tropic of Capricorn, where the sun can never go, or in this case, north of the Tropic of Cancer, where the sun could never go, because the sun's path, the heart of the zodiac, the ecliptic, is bound by the tropics, hence the tropical zodiac, tropikos, Greek for turnaround. So let's take a look at this moment, not from Berkeley, California, but rather from Athens, Greece, using this amazing tool of Stellarium astronomy software, because it will help me just point out to you one of the most important things in our day and age, which is that the zero Cancer point, the Tropic of Cancer, the point of the sun's path, the heart of the zodiac, the ecliptic plane, the plane of the Earth-Sun relationship, that point of the zodiac that is furthest north of the equator, that in our day and age, that point now is at the hand of the high man, or the right arm of the mighty one, to whisper from some of the ancient prophetic traditions. And this is one of the images of galactic alignment. Before I leave there, I just want to show you from a different point of view the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota star knowledge, where we see that this new moon meets with Jupiter right in the center of the sacred hoop. You can see the fire pit here, Mars aligned to the lion's head, which in this tradition is the pit where stones are heated to bring into the sacred hoop, which is the place that we are told we come from, but also the Inipi, the sweat lodge in the sky, where when we die, we will pass back through to be purified before we walk the spirit road to a place that sets in the southwest, which surely, my friends, must be the galactic center. So these are the mysteries that I am so happy to have been initiated into, thanks to my initial study at the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School, now the Turning of the Ages Mystery School, and mysteries that I'm called to share and teach. It's when Jupiter gave me my marching orders, the thing that I was most directed to share. And it's tricky because it gets technical and requires much sacred astronomy. But I will say, while we look at the Jupiter square Saturn Neptune, and the Pluto into Aquarius, and Neptune into Aries, and Uranus into Gemini, and the midpoint picture that they create, which is like a once in 500 year thing, we're in this once in 26,000 year thing that might be indicative of not only the promise of so many prophecies of ancient times, but of this key time in the turning of the ages and the evolution of our species, our consciousness, our planet, and that we are in a time where a new way will be born, and that does not happen without labor pains. So when we look to the news and see the bombs and the great separation and division, when we look around us as we walk the city streets and see so much have not, when we feel perhaps in our own lives how challenging it has been and how challenging it can be, depending on where you're at, finding a way to remember gratitude, finding a way to remember to stay tender, finding a way to water all the plants that we walk by simply opening our heart and at least offering a smile. 'Tis the season, this is the time that we have come to this amazing earth place. Perhaps most importantly, for we grow through what we go through, and while that does not necessitate a paradigm of no pain, no gain, let us also allow ourselves to unwrap the presents that are disguised in the ugly paper, just as Jupiter, it is said, buried hope beneath all of the calamities that he called the guides and goddesses forth to put in Pandora's box to give to human beings, to punish us. So let's take this conversation to a more private space where we can come together and celebrate Cancer new moon in a place that feels hopefully more safe, and where I'm not the only face on a screen or the only mic that's turned on. For those of you who are in Constellations, you will be able to find the Zoom link right at your meetups place, where you find all the links for all of the classes and the community discussions. And I hope folks who are not in Constellations will go take a look. GeminiBrett.com/constellations or GeminiBrett.com, and simply click the Constellations community tab to go learn more about what we're doing. When you go, use the coupon code STARTRIBE, all one word, doesn't matter if it's caps or lowercase, so that you can join us and give us a try for a month at a bit of a lower rate. Lock it in. But let's unlock things together. So there's also just an easy thing you can type into your device to get into a Zoom room that, again, will not be recorded, will not be broadcast. You can come and share, and hopefully we can get tender together. And that link, which I'll put in the chat right now, is GeminiBrett.com/circle. So if you type GeminiBrett.com/circle, that should bring you right into a Zoom room I'm about to open. Hey, Nick. Hey, Angela. Where we can connect, drop in, connect these nobes from around the globe, and the nodes too, and most importantly, our hearts. So GeminiBrett.com/circle will take you right to a Zoom room that I will be in 1 minute. Next week on Storytelling Hour, the plan, I think, will be to look at yesterday's Jupiter Cazimi and the Jupiter cycle, the synodic cycle of Sun Jupiter, which generally has a 399-day periodicity, but that's an average, and some very interesting things like how they skipped Gemini and went from Taurus to Cancer, and how might we work with that, and other wonderful explorations that we'll take together next week at Storytelling Hour. All right. Well, may this be a time where, despite all of the wild waves out in that world of madness, you still feel and call in enough safety and trust that you can try even a little more tenderness to spread the love. See you in space, friends. Or maybe I'll see you right now, if you're hearing this live, in the Zoom room that you will find through typing GeminiBrett.com/circle into your space wave device. Happy new moon.